Welcome to In Confidence, the problem page with me, Rosie Dowling, where I share letters you've sent me about your confidence problems and I answer with practical tips based on my experience coaching senior leaders. Many successful leaders I coach have something in common that will come as a surprise to their colleagues. They've all been through some pretty major personal or professional setbacks. This week's letter is from a chief marketing officer in the comms industry. Dear Rosie, I recently lost my job and I suspect it may have been unfair, but everything happened so quickly and was so stressful that I didn't have the wherewithal or the courage to fight it at the time. I'm now looking for a new role but have lost a lot of confidence. I keep replaying what happened and feeling disappointed with myself for not being more strategic or standing up for myself. At the same time, I find myself thinking there must be some reason this happened, even though I can't work out what it is. It's starting to affect how senior the roles that I apply for are. I've always been a high achiever, and this has massively changed how I see myself. When I don't hear back from applications, it makes the feeling worse. Lately, I've started worrying that people in my industry must be talking about what happened. I know that may not be rational, but it's hard to shake the feeling. Do you have any advice on how I can start trusting myself again and rebuild my confidence? So first of all, I want to say I'm really sorry that this happened to you, and it is much more common than you think. So let's unpack some of the things in your letter, because I often notice that one event like this can create multiple problems that all need to be addressed separately. So first of all, the unfairness, the fact that you think you might have been let go of unfairly, but you say you didn't have the wherewithal to fight it. You're not alone. Research suggests that fewer than 10% of employees who believe they were treated unfairly actually pursue a formal employment tribunal claim. But I understand that this is going to eat away at your self-confidence because of self-blame. So this now speaks to your identity. Who are you if you don't stand up for yourself? And it's also shameful because if someone treats you unfairly and no one else does anything about it, that carries a lot of shame as well. So my suggestion is that you treat this as the most important issue, because this kind of thing can have a really long tail. And the rumination, and by the way, again, you're not alone. Studies in organizational psychology show that over 80% of people mentally replay workplace conversations or conflicts long after they happen. But what I recommend to clients going through this kind of thing is to put themselves on special status. That means giving yourself the space to grieve and recover. When I say the word recover, people often turn their noses up and they think that if they prioritize recovery, that means they can't do anything else. But I get emails on a regular basis from clients telling me how pleased they were that they prioritized recovery, because it means that you get back to yourself much more quickly. You might ask yourself, what would you do if you had a child who'd just been through something terrible? You would give them the space and you wouldn't expect very much of them. And you'd give them as long as they need. So I hear that you have various pressures to get back to work, but inwardly, can you give yourself that space to recover? And sometimes it really helps to tell someone else what you're going through and how hard you're finding it, because pretending is exhausting. And when you're constantly having to apply for jobs, you do have to put that mask on. So speaking to other people is a great outlet and counterbalances that pretense. So this is going to bring me to my next point, which is that you say you're a high achiever and that that's your identity. So of course you're going to find this experience hugely challenging. And one thing I'd offer is that the most senior people I coach have all been through something that has challenged them way beyond what they thought was possible to go through. And it's this resilience that makes you an extraordinary leader. So I'm very cautious about trying to help people find silver linings too quickly. But I do think learning to trust your ability to deal with failure and actually being curious about how you find your way through it is going to hold you in good stead for next time. So Perhaps you can treat this as a new part of your identity that you are strengthening. The part of being a high achiever who is also learning to deal with failure. And what does that look like in practice? Maybe it's as simple as slowing your reactions down. Maybe it's about writing about them and noticing how you're feeling. What helps you feel more positive, and what kind of things bring you to despair, and how can you learn to manage those? So let's speak to the shame now and the worry that the people in your industry might be talking behind your back. In a funny way, this is your brain's way of protecting you, because the reaction that you're going to get from this is you'll want to hide away. And that's the safest place to be. But I promise you this, you have raving fans out there. And not only that, you have people who need your specific experience. Lots of raving fans are not actually your closest friends. They are your friends of friends of friends. They're your weak ties. There's really cool research out there that shows that 50% of jobs are secured through weak ties. That's acquaintances rather than close colleagues. So spread your net wide and enjoy meeting people. The advice that I give to my clients is to seek out two types of people. So you want to go and find your raving fans. You know who they are, write a list of people who think you're the bee's knees and go and see them in real life. The second type of people that I advise you to seek out are the ones who've had a similar experience to you. So anyone who's experienced some kind of shame, humiliation, or unfairness, because that is going to make you feel instantly better because you know you're not alone. And it gives you the confidence to know that it's possible to go through it, survive it, and thrive afterwards. You also need to know that nobody is that interested in talking about you behind your back. So there's experiments by psychologists at Cornell University, and they found that people massively overestimate how much others notice or remember their mistakes by roughly 2 or 3 times. And this is called the spotlight effect. So we tend to assume that others are noticing and discussing our mistakes far more than they actually are. So I say proceed until apprehended. A few other practical things that can help you. Go and learn something, book yourself on a course, you get an instant confidence boost for that and you get out of your head. Change your routine. So do things at different times of the day and in different places. That is really good to stop rumination, because rumination is a habit that sticks to other things. So change your habits. Make a list of things that you know you're brilliant at and then match them to very specific evidence. So it's very common to lower your sights after a career shock. LinkedIn research suggests that over 60% of professionals apply for roles below their previous level after losing a job. But if you do that, you will be bored. So get down the evidence of why you're brilliant and you deserve that senior role. The final thing, I ask my clients this question when they are in a very, very safe place. And I would advise you to only do this when you're feeling really strong. And it's this question. If there was a grain of truth in what happened, what would you be willing to take responsibility for to set you up for success in future? And that way you avoid the self-blame trap and you separate out the learning. One of the things I've learned from coaching very senior leaders is that confidence is not about the absence of difficult experiences. It's about your ability to rebuild yourself after them. And if you're listening to this and you're going through something similar, the very fact that you're reflecting on it tells me you're in the process of rebuilding your confidence.